Good evening, everybody, and thank you so much for watching the show this evening. I hope you enjoy what happens here over the next wee while. To find out who our first guest is, let me hand you over to our MC for the evening, the beautiful Fred Cooke.
Thank you, Tommy. Well, our first guest is Mr. Paul Merson.
Paul. Hello, Tommy. I have heard of you, don't worry.
That's good.
I know who you are. How are you getting on?
Yeah, good. Good, thank you, yeah.
What are you busy... For those viewers who mightn't know, most famous being an ex-professional soccer player.
Yeah.
What are you up to these days? I know you do the punditry on Sky
Yeah,
as well.
well, on Sky Sports, and do a bit of, well, a lot of mental health stuff as well. Yeah, going around talking to people about mental health, about addictions, but mainly Sky Sports.
What was the journey of the addiction thing for you?
If I only knew then what I know now, it would have probably been different, if I'm being honest. I didn't know that I was an ill person. I thought I was a bad person, always trying to be good. And it was only when I found out that I was an ill person who needed to get well and the penny dropped, I understood then the addiction. I knew what it was. I didn't really understand it at first. I just constantly, you know, keep on drinking and gambling and taking drugs and beating myself up, killing my self-esteem would go. You know, I'd feel guilty that I let people down. And then when someone said to me, no, you're an ill person and you need to get well, then I understood.
So in terms of when you were playing,
yeah.
what shape was the addiction in then?
Functional. So I'd never miss training. Never missed a day's training, ever. I could get in at 5 o'clock in the morning, I'd still be at training at 10. Always.
Over.
Yeah, always. I'd never, you know, because you're staying fit and you're younger.
Yeah.
You know, I just thought it was the norm. You know, it was that time when I was playing where drink was quite, you know, that was the way it was. You were going out drinking and then the gambling addiction kick in. So every time I ever got money, I always lost it.
Were you earning a lot of money?
Yeah, I mean, later on as it went on, the better you become as a player in them days.
Yeah.
You got more money, so the more money just kept on feeding
So what
the
was it,
addictions.
at your peak, what were you earning?
35 grand a week. Yeah.
It's enough to get by.
It was enough for the bookies to get by, I would say. Yeah.
They were delighted.
They loved it. Yeah. So that was the more I earned, the more I gambled. Yeah.
Did the level of drinking in any way help with how physical and tough the matches were?
No, not really. Not really. I think later on in my career, when I ended my career at Walsall at the end, and I was drinking heavy, I didn't have the legs to be able to carry it, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
You know, when I was younger, yeah, I called drinking a young man's sport.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
You know, and I just think the older I got, then it became harder and harder. But I did go through phases in my career where I didn't drink. You know, I went into treatment, I didn't drink for like 6 years.
Was it all spirits?
No, it was lager at first, and then it got into the brandy. Yeah, and then I was a brandy man.
Which is probably easier to, like, spirits are a kind of a cleaner drink, aren't they, in the sense of...
Yeah, I mean, you're not
hangovers
going to be 16 stone running around the football pitch. You know,
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie. I didn't take my shirt off when I scored a goal, but yeah, they were the days. Do you know what I mean? It was the norm. It was the norm when I played.
So it's all fun then?
Yeah, it was fun, and then the fun gets less and less.
As you get older?
You get older, you know,
Yeah.
and then you start coming home and, you know, your wife will go, you have a good time out, and you're like, not really. I was just drinking for the sake of drinking in the end. I didn't know anything different. Did
that marriage survive all the kind of social turbulence?
No.
All right.
No, the first two never.
First two?
I'm on third one now. Yeah, I got a signed ball. The vicar gave me a signed ball, hat-trick ball. Yeah, so, well, that's the thing. I couldn't come... When you're on a pitch, you're playing in front of 30,000 people or 40,000, you score a goal or you win, the adrenaline's through the roof. When you come off the pitch, I couldn't come down.
Yeah.
I had to stay there, and that's when, you know, it was either drink, gambling or drugs to stay at that high. You know, I was either up here or I was down there. I was never... Only now, at 55 years of age, I'm there in the middle.
What drugs were they?
Cocaine.
And when did that start?
That started, to be fair, that was 1 year I'd done that for. In 93, for 1 year, being an addictive person, an addict. I tried it once in February, and in November I was on my knees. And like I still sit there now, and where it took me, and there was no phone cameras in them days. But I'd be sitting in crack houses, and I'm playing for Arsenal in England, and I'm sitting in crack houses, and people are coming in to score, and they're like, and walking out, they're like, it can't be him.
Yeah.
Can't be him. So I went to the club and said, I've got a major problem. I thought my heart was going to bounce out my shirt one day in a game. And I went to the club. I said, I'm addicted to cocaine. I need help. And they put me in a treatment centre. And I think it was 20 games I got banned. Yeah.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, in 94. So I was allowed back I was allowed back early in February because the cancer said he needs to come back. He needs to come back now. He needs to play football. He needs to play football. And I was doing well. I was getting drug tested all the time. And I'd come back against AC Milan in the Super Cup. And I run on the pitch, come on a sub, and I run over to the other side of the pitch, and a man called Paolo Maldini.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. And I run over, he was marking me, and as I run over, he went, welcome back. And I was like, wow. Yeah. It
was lovely.
Yeah, and he was the best player I ever played against.
And to remember that all these years later as something gorgeous.
Yeah, it was a moment. You know, that's the thing with football. You got to live in. I never lived in the moment. You know, I never in my whole career, only to the later end at Portsmouth, Villa. You know, people say to me, "What was it like when you won the league in '89? What was it like here?" I don't know. I don't, because I was always looking for the next.
I remember what it was like when you won the league in '89.
Oh, you Liverpool fan?
Yeah.
Miracle. It was a miracle. Even now, '89, I still think, when we was going up there, I was thinking, just don't get beat by a lot. Just don't get beat by a lot. I mean, it was the best Liverpool team I ever played against.
I watched that in a bar in Galway where I live, full of Liverpool supporters. And the silence when Michael Thomas scored the second goal was...
Honestly, it's, you know, we was melting at the time. And to go up there and to play against... You know, that Liverpool team was the Tiger Woods of football.
Yeah.
A bit like Man City now, where if you finish above them, you're winning the league.
Yeah.
You know, you're not going to finish above Man City and not win the league. And it was the same with Liverpool. And to beat them, you know, at Liverpool by 2 clear goals is... You know, even today, I still don't understand how it happened.
So, how old were you when you left Arsenal?
I was 30 when I left Arsenal.
And how did that come about?
Addiction. I went Middlesbrough. I was playing for Arsenal. I'd just been offered a new contract at Arsenal. I'd been there 14 years. Wow. And Middlesbrough doubled my wages. And I was gambling like a maniac at the time. And I just couldn't get my head around that, not having that kind of money. And that's just pure addiction to feed my addiction. And then I was at Aston Villa for 4.5 years, which was probably the best football I played. So
can you talk me through then the Aston Villa years in terms of the addictions?
Yeah, I was doing meetings. I was going to meetings a lot. And I was well. And then I swapped my addictions. I started gambling heavily because I wasn't drinking. So then I started gambling. I was losing everything. And then I went from Aston Villa to Portsmouth. And then when I was at Walsall, obviously the money gets less, so that, you know, you're chasing your money more because of the gambling. And then I went into treatment for gambling. I went into a place in Arizona, one of the top treatment centres in the world for gambling. And then I come out of there after, I think it was 4 to 6 weeks I was in there. And I got off the plane, I went home, and I got home and I thought, I haven't tried wine yet. Didn't try wine. That might be the one. And I went up the road, bought 3 bottles of wine, and that was it. For the next 20 years, I drank again. Till I was 50.
Drunk to drunkenness?
Drunk to drunk, and I mean drunk, like, at the end, when I stopped, I was 5 years sober on January the 6th.
Good man.
Every day. Every day. Because I wasn't playing football anymore, so it was every day.
How did they try and stop you gambling?
Didn't. No one tried to stop me gambling.
No, in the place in America.
Yeah, I mean, they sent me into the treatment centre. I'd lost my pension. I got my pension through from the PFA. They offered me my pension. I mean, I look back now, at the time I would have kissed their feet. Do you know what I mean? Someone's just given me like 700-800 grand. Wow. I would have kissed their feet. But I look back now at 50, well, I was writing a book a while back, and I sat there and I thought, how can you give a compulsive gambler his pension early? Like, you know, and I do get a bit, you know, with that. I just think someone's earned money out of giving me that early, you know, by surrendering early. And I lost all of that in no time. But there was a time, I did go in, and the counsellor sat there and I sat here, and I didn't really full-blooded it, but he was my addiction. He was talking to me, and it was scary. Like, so he was talking like he was my addiction inside of me, saying, I will kill you. I will kill you in the end. Like, and it was scary.
Somebody said to me once, they were living with an addict, and they said, nobody gets better until the addict leaves the house.
Yeah, I can understand that. Because it's easy to keep on helping people. And you do, because if you love someone, you're going to help. And, you know, I'm still with my wife today for one reason, and that's because of her mum. Because her mum's dad was a compulsive gambler. So she always used to say to me, you must hate me. Why are you losing all our money all the time? You never come home. But her mum used to say to me, you know, her mum used to say to her, my dad was like that. He'd lose his money and wouldn't come home. And sort of made her understand that it's not him, it's the addiction. You know, and I think my other two wives didn't get that. They just thought I was, you know, not a nice person.
So a friend of mine would have committed suicide due to addiction. So you would know what state he was in?
100%, yeah.
Can you describe it to me to get that?
Dark.
Yeah.
Dark, can't get out. It becomes so dark. I've tried to kill myself twice. You know, twice. Because I just didn't see a way out. You know, especially when you don't know you're ill. And, you know, I can understand. I can understand where people are, because it does get dark. It does get dark. But, you know, I always say now, I always talk. You know, I always talk to people. I have a sponsor that I talk to, even for the smallest thing. You know, because that can fester and fester, and, you know, I know what I'm like.
How did you stop?
My last gamble was in lockdown. First lockdown, we saved up for a house. We saved up a good deposit for a house. Started getting hooked on the telly at 5 o'clock, watching Boris Johnson and the man with a red tie on, and I was like, my anxiety went through the roof, and I thought, the games are starting to play behind closed doors, you know, and I thought, I'm not going to be doing Soccer Saturday anymore. There's not going to be any shows. I just didn't see a way out. And I thought, you know what, to get a house, we were living in renting accommodation, and I had 2 kids at the time, and my wife was pregnant with a third, and I thought, we've got to get a house, and I lost the deposit. Lost it all. I thought, I've got to race it up and win it, and I lost it all. My kids were sitting there playing. I was like, I just lost the money, and that wasn't good. That was then. It was like, bang, got to stop. And now we're starting again. Got to save again.
How did your missus find out?
I had to tell her in the end. I had to tell her, you know. So she went ballistic at the highest level. Because, you know, before I'd done our money, and she was giving me chance after chance. And that's when her mum said, because she was crying her eyes out, you can't love me, you must hate me, this and that. And then her mum said, he's not well. My dad used to do this a lot. And then, obviously, she understood, read into it, talked to her mum, and, you know, and thank God she stuck by me. Mm. And that took a lot, do you know what I mean? Because she could have easily left.
What were the next couple of weeks like?
Dark, yeah, not good. Because sometimes, like when...
It's only so recent, Paul, as well. It's not
but with addiction and, you know, people, you know, and I took, you know, I was 5 years sober, and I don't bet now, and I haven't had a bet since. And people go, how great you're doing, well done, fair play, great. But no one ever thinks about everybody else. You know, you leave an hand grenade behind you. You know, you destroy everything. That's the thing with addiction. You know, people don't realise what you do to the family, what you do to your wife, your kids. Even my boy now, you know, if I'm on the phone, he's 9, just turned 9. he'd be like, who's that on the phone? What's that on the phone? Because he's seen it. He's seen the gambling. He's seen me not coming home. Mum ringing up and going, where are you and all that. And it affects people. There's no doubt about it.
Thank God.
Yeah.
You're here now. Like.
Yeah, a day at a time. I get given today. I get up in the morning. First thing I do, say my prayers. Don't have a drink. Don't have a bet. Don't have a gamble today. If someone said to me, you can never drink, gamble, have a bet ever again, I couldn't do it. Honestly, I'd find that overwhelming, and I'd think, no chance. But I know today I can get through the day. It's doable.
Wow. Staying... It's not staying strong, because the more you invest in your strength, the more your weakness has grown as well. So is it about letting go of things? Is that it?
Yeah, that was one of the big things. I surrendered. I ain't getting the money back that I lost. That's gone. That is gone. And that's something I did accept. You're always thinking, I'm going to win that back. I'm never going to win it back. I lost millions and millions and millions of pounds. I mean, millions of pounds. And that was the thing I did. I surrendered. That was a big word, surrender. I surrendered. I'm powerless over drinking and gambling and drugs. I can't take them. I can't do it.
Why do you think you started in the first place?
Very anxious as a kid. I nearly had to stop playing football at 12 because I was getting anxiety. I was getting panic attacks, like palpitations in them days. Palpitation, heart was beating on. Now we'd say it was anxiety.
Yeah.
And then walked into a betting shop one day. It was like walking into a spaceship. Just took me away from the way I felt. And then when I drunk, I started talking to people.
Yeah.
I'd open up. I'd be chatty, and that's why I chose, to do them things. It took me out the way I felt.
Do you have good friends?
Not really, no. I'm going to be honest. Yeah, addiction takes you away from friends. It wants you on your own.
And there's...
I know. I wouldn't say I've got friends. I've got friends, but I haven't got close. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not a godfather to anybody. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think godfather. That's a big thing. That's like, you're going to be. No one would ever ask me. Never. No chance. I wouldn't even have asked myself.
Yeah.
So I always judge by them kind of things. Do you know what I mean? So no, I haven't I've got friends, but addiction took me away from that.
There's nothing that we can do to guarantee future safety. But I wish you so much love and wisdom in the day-by-day thing, Paul, of just... does talking about it in this way help?
Yeah, because I always talk openly and honestly, because someone might be watching at home that goes, that's me. Do you know what I mean? Or I might, I might have a drink problem, or am I gambling too much? Or, so I always stay honest. Do you know what I mean? People go, oh, sometimes you're a bit too honest and you're a bit too open. But if I hold it back and then someone else don't get any help, and I wouldn't wish addiction on anybody in the world. It's the worst thing in the world.
Yeah.
Because it's, you can get an illness and it could go away, it might kill you. But with addiction, it's with you for the rest of your life. It's just if you got to get it under control, and you got to make sure you live with it and make sure it don't ruin your life.
Thank you for coming on to the show and
Pleasure.
talking to me, Paul.
Thanks for having me.
You're not alone, and I wish you every strength.
Thank you. Cheers, Tommy. Thank you. Thanks.
That's us done. I remember that fucking match in '89. Well, welcome back to the second half, everybody. Freddie, who's next?
Tommy, our next guests are Fiachna O'Brien and Liam Whaley.
please.
Do we?
Yeah, we do. Let's touch.
Let's touch. Touch the phone. Let's touch.
Let's touch.
Tommy, how you doing?
I'm touched.
We touch. To see you. To be touched.
You're still hanging out together.
We are.
We are. We are.
Any excuse.
In what ways are ye similar? Because you present like quite differently.
No way at all.
He's yin and I'm yang in the morning. And then, go on.
And then by the evening, it flips around.
So you could present as corporate, and you could
And then by the
present as
Feral.
feral. So that's only visual presentation. But why are you still friends?
Music is the main thing, isn't it?
Yeah, music and love. Love is the main thing. And a connection that goes back to our childhoods. And the knowledge that if the shit hits the fan, he's there at the other end of a phone. And I think the opposite is also true. It's certainly been the case on several occasions over the years, you know. And then...
He's looking at me as though, you better say yeah or I'm going to...
Yeah, or I'm going to kill you. No, and then, but music, like when...
Well, there are times,
when
times in life where shit does hit the fan between people. And one might have walked away. But music was the one thing that actually kept us together because we continued communicating.
Yeah.
And actually love travels through music. Whether you actually actively say to myself, I love that guy or not, if you're playing music, love is actually doing its own thing, is how I'd see it.
So are you...
There are moments during
Yeah.
gigs, right, when we would approach one another. And sometimes I'd feel your head coming towards my body, right? Like, do that. Just come over here like that.
What?
Or like, you know.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just, and we're in the middle of doing something, you know.
Yeah.
We're in the middle of trying to create a bit of magic in this space with people in front of us.
Yeah.
And so
and sometimes we need that.
Yeah,
you know?
no,
It's
but I think it's how we speak now, mostly.
How did the nature of the performances change over the years? So I would say, people now who, say, grew up with Hot House Flowers would say, oh, when you're going to a Hot House Flowers gig now, there'll be a great kind of flood of strangeness in it. It could go places.
Yeah.
So how did that happen, and why does it happen?
I think it always wanted to happen. It used to happen on the street all the time. And the street, to me, was one of the was the wildest. That was the canvas. That became, oh my God, this is alive. This is beyond you or me. This is something else. And I think, and then our sound checks during those hard-working years, our sound checks held that vessel. Our sound checks would last 3 hours, and we'd go off. And so...
Just playing. And then we'd often listen back. Jerry used to listen back to them.
Yeah, we'd be on the bus and we'd listen.
Yeah, and we'd hear what we were doing. And there was a difference in the way we played together, I think, in the sound checks compared to the gig, which was the gigs back in those days where there was a set list.
Sure.
So it was more structured.
Hits.
Yeah, all of that. And
we still went out there, but...
yeah.
But the sound check was where that was really... We went into the bush. And now we're pulling that into the... We still play the songs, we play whatever, and somebody shouts something up, we play it. But now there's room.
The shows are more free now.
Yeah.
I think.
Why do you do that?
Because I think it's the freedom that's needed for the music to be expressed.
And what about the risk of losing an audience during a show then? How do you counter that? The feeling of it. What?
Do you think? I mean...
Ce n'est pas possible.
Ce n'est pas possible. Mon frère. Come in.
Let's get real here.
Oh oui, c'est possible. Oh oui, c'est possible. But...
Well, the thing is, we could lose each other sometimes.
Yeah.
I do notice sometimes the guys are going, well, I'm... Less so, but there's the art of just... It's about, as long as we don't lose each other, we won't lose the audience, I think. As long as we don't lose each other, and there's a balance of something. You know, and I think a lot of the people who come are similarly aged like ourselves, and so they know, they kind of see what's going on as well.
What's going to happen
It's
next?
on our sleeves, you know, it's on our sleeves. So there's something to watch there, even if it crashes. It's fantastic. I mean, a crash. We love people watch crashes on the news all the time. People slow down when there's a crash on the road. But human nature. Actually,
Let's go see the hothouse flowers. They might be shite.
They might be shite, and it'll be amazing. But
They might be shy for 2 or 3 minutes, and then they'll be great by the time the gig is over.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I don't think that's even necessarily true. But I think people.
I
come,
never knew that was how you thought of it.
Well, yes, you did.
I did, fair enough.
There's no 2 nights are ever the same because of how we play now. I had to get my head around it, like in terms of buying into it completely, you know, because I think I like structure. I quite like set lists. I like an order in things, just in general in my life. I think that's how I kind of tick over naturally. But I think I've learnt a lot about the power and the beauty of risk, throwing away your crutches, you know, or what I would perceive to be my crutches. They wouldn't be maybe what you would perceive to be yours at all, you know, because I think I know Liam, I suppose, long enough to know that what he needs in terms of feeling rewarded from what we do on stage is freedom. Is that freedom?
Don't fence me in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What does Fiachna do for you? I can understand in a way that Liam might represent, and these are just, you know, sentences, but that Liam might represent your freedom. That if you're the man who loves structure and has the suit and the job in Radio 1 and, and all that, and Liam is the kind of the Kinleen Ashtach from, you know, the island or whatever, I can see how you supporting him or getting energy from him is part of your freedom. But I'm curious as to what Fiachna does for you. Does that make sense now? Is that unfair?
Yeah, I mean, I love my freedom as well.
Yeah.
You know.
Fiachna has a responsivity. There's things that he does with his hands I don't think he knows he's doing. You know, it's the being that's doing it, and that's what I think Fiachna. We have a kind of we have an empathic thing that comes from being in the same school, that comes from Vetokila Gaelge, agus Mass Mór Jang agus an Duchas, agus an Ceol, that we resonate. So and Fiachna, you know, we've watched each other go about life in each other's ways, and I've watched Fiachna negotiate millions of relationships now. And I'm going, how? What?
Stop.
No, stop. No, but I've watched him negotiate very big decisions in life and made very mature decisions in and around relationships and family that I went, that's how to do that. That's Smilam Shin, Anima Shin. And then, you see, and then we're all just kind of weeding our way up into these trees that we are. And you know, we are a mad mix of people, the 3 of us and the 5 of us. We're all very much quite different people. And when you don't think too much about anything except just maintaining a flow and that the creativity is allowed to come out. And that's as old as the hills. So that's this great mystery that's among us, that we have been lucky enough on one hand, and also brave enough to fight for.
Yeah.
You know, to tell our folks, actually, we're doing this. I'm doing this. I've seen the road.
Yeah.
My dad, you know, he was he came from that generation where he was afraid if you didn't get a third level education that you'd be lost. And I went and I kind of half-heartedly promised 3 or 4 times that I'd get my repeats, and then I'd get the repeat year. When about a third into the repeat year, I said, this happened. And I'd never been so clear with him before in my life. And that was great.
Why do you keep the Hot House Flowers going?
We don't know.
You know, yeah.
The gigs still come, and
Phone keeps ringing.
and we still love the gigs. You know, I mean, we're still intrigued by each other, and each other for us is our music, as well as the person.
There's always a sense of possibility, I think.
Yeah.
I think there's a sense of, possibility and adventure in the music. Liam sent us all a message a couple of months ago saying, can you keep the first 2 weeks of next June free? Let's go away and make the best music we've ever made. It's like, yes! You know?
I'm very jealous of you.
Come and join us.
It's a nice place. We got friend. We bring friend. Come, be nice time together.
I could do some spoken word in between
Yeah.
the flights of fancy.
Scalach, schulach, scalach.
Maybe, yeah. Why did you bring your instruments?
Yeah, because
Do you have notions?
we have notions. We do. Oh, it's always.
I was watching the thing, just saying it to Liam earlier on. I saw you were tasting poutine in Connemara. And your description of it.
It was just up from Joe Heaney's grave.
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Amazing.
Igorn about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was it was, yeah.
And it was, you captured an essence of the place that I totally connected with. So I thought we might take ourselves to Connemara.
Ah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
That'd be
You
great.
up for that?
Yeah, please.
Okay.
Was it the poutine that's Michelin? Do you know the Michelin?
No, this was a fella who he didn't even have a name to remain nameless. We met him in the field, and he said, "Have that."
Wow. Amazing.
Oh, she the one more year, she the one more year, she the one more she kalachon ergiz. She the one more year, Valeris, what is good at Chihoshi and what he has again. Because the same about she to Nilin, so he got Cipalano and a Caroni. The hearts of children in the goose, he heard it to Julie, what he has again. Oh, she the one more, she the one more, she the one more, she kalachon ergiz. She the one more, Valeris, what he goes good at Chihoshi and what he has again. Mas tu bossa, kalachon ergiz. Tasam na bozo, tashe rogo, solution pergit. She the wabo, she the wabo, she the wabo, she kalachon ergiz. She the wabo, yo, Valeris, Rodi, goes good at Chicosi and what he has again. Don't go.
now.
I think a bit of fluff from my pocket got stuck in that hat. Did you hear that? No. Thank goodness.
Wow, so yeah. There's the ceoldríocht, but there's the ceoldríocht as well, isn't there? You know?
Yeah. It's the dríocht that keeps the whole thing alive. It's that's the endless
But
possibility of it.
it's about people who have an appetite for it being able to find it.
Yeah.
And it's not always apparent.
It's not
Of
only
how
the
to-
comfort
now-
zone.
Well, yeah. Now, God bless you and thank God for you that ye have found it. And, you know, we can experience you. But a lot of people, I think, they'd be going, oh, geez, where do I find that in my life? And
Yeah.
will I find it at the bottom of a pint or, you know, or on a walk or something? It's inspirational stuff, lads.
I think we feel lucky.
Yeah.
As well,
Privileged.
you know, and privileged. Even more so as time goes by, actually. I think your sense of appreciation, you know, becomes deeper.
Yeah.
As death approaches.
Thanks for coming on and talking to me. And
Thank you, Tommy.
thanks for playing.
Yeah. Pleasure.
Sinead.
Sinead.
Gramad.
Well, welcome back to the third half, everybody. Ready? Who's next?
Tommy, our next guest is Karen Dempsey.
Hello there. Karen, hello there.
Hello.
How are you?
Nice to meet you, Tommy.
Very nice to meet you.
Thank you.
You're a very striking lady.
Thank you very much. That was the plan.
Yeah, is there a story behind that?
There is.
Okay.
Tommy, there's a story behind everything we're going to talk about tonight.
Great.
I'll start with that because, yes, first thing you see is that I have no hair.
Yeah.
I don't see it because I'm looking at you through my eyes.
Of course, yeah.
But, yeah, I have alopecia,
Oh, yeah.
alopecia universalis. And that is the rarest type of alopecia, which is all of the body hair everywhere. My hair fell out very quickly, within the space of maybe 3 weeks, when I had just had my first baby and he was about 3 or 4 months old. So I was navigating new motherhood and that was my priority at the time. And suddenly my hair started to fall out, which is normal after pregnancy. I don't want to alarm anybody either that's watching and experiencing hair falling out. But this turned out to be alopecia universalis, which is not related. It wasn't pregnancy, post-pregnancy hair loss. Wow. And I think the biggest part was, up to then, I had faced the world as, you know, a good-looking, fairly standard, you know, long shiny hair done up in a fancy updo and high heels. And after my hair fell out, I realised how much privilege comes with that. And how much I had relied in a way on myself looking conventional. And it made me re-evaluate how I face, not so much how I face the world, but how I bring myself into the world. And I realised how I look was such a tiny part of what I actually present when I engage with people. And that brought me on a whole new trajectory in my life.
How old were you when it happened?
I was 26 when this happened, 27 when this happened. And I'm 45 now.
The stress of it must have been colossal.
Yeah, it was.
Like when it was falling out, like it must have been...
Yes.
Whatever about dealing with it after it's happened. But those first, did you say 3 weeks?
Yeah, it started through my eyelash. These are false eyelashes. Started through my eyelash, went into my eyebrow, and then just a little patch here for a while. And I thought, oh, that's a bit strange, you know, and then the patch just went to here, and almost like the edge of my hair all went. And at that point, I went, you know what? I'm going to shave it.
Yeah.
Now it's such a big part of who I am and such a big part of my style. But sometimes people talk as though if I had the chance to grow my hair back, that of course that's what I would do.
Yeah.
And genuinely, I don't think I would. If somebody came out tomorrow and said I have a
handier.
cure, it is. I can have a shower with a baby wipe. It's like, it's so much easier. And I'm really recognisable. People know who I am. People see me once and have a good sense of who I am.
Yeah.
What I work at the moment is I hold ceremonies. So I am Ireland's most recognisable celebrant. You know, when people see me, when they see me once, they don't have to even know my name. They say, I'd like that person for my funeral, the bald one.
The bald one, yeah.
And that's enough said.
So tell us then, so you kind of accepted,
Yeah.
and then it changed your outlook on
Yeah.
things. So then what?
I originally trained as a nurse. So I started that when I was 17 years old,
Yeah.
which was very young, really. But I also worked at that time. I stepped out of the hospital infrastructure, but I worked as a hospice home care nurse. So I would have sat with the patients, people, within the last 7 days of their life. When they or their family get the phone call to say, this now is the final phase,
Yeah.
I would go and sit with them in the house from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. I was 20 when I did that, and I loved it. And around the same time, I was also working in the Rotunda, so I was very much working with birth and death. I didn't feel nursing was where I really wanted to spend my career. So I went and did a degree in Irish, English and psychology in UCD. Then I did a master's in psychotherapy and just maybe just reevaluate everything at that point. And I'm lucky that happened when I was in my 20s. It could have happened 20 years later,
Yeah.
30, 40 years later. So I was kind of felt the pull back to the birth and death side of things. And I went back to nursing, like a crazy person, because I went back to the 12-hour shifts.
Yeah.
But I went back into the Rotunda and I was working on the gynae ward. And the gynae ward in a maternity hospital tends to be the place where if something happens in the very early stages of pregnancy, before the pregnancy is able to continue, you go to the gynae ward. And there was one night, it was 4 o'clock in the morning, I was on the gynae ward in the Rotunda. And a woman, a lot of the people that would be there would be miscarrying and awaiting miscarriages and various different things. And I was standing in the corridor with this woman. She had 4 children already. I think her youngest was about 10 or 12. And she had found she was pregnant again and was not overjoyed by the news, but was navigating it and thinking, well, okay.
Yeah.
And then found out she was going to miscarry. So I was standing in the corridor with her at 4 a.m. She handed me a clot in a piece and she said, I didn't think I believe in God. I don't really believe in God. I don't know what I believe, but my baby must be somewhere. And she was holding this in her hand because she wasn't sure, was this her baby or not? And then she said to me, what do you think? And I stood there in that moment and I thought, oh, I don't know. I thought I kind of knew. I don't know. And I was in the middle of my psychotherapy training at that stage. And so I'd start with nursing, I'd done the physical, I did psychotherapy, which is psychological. And in that conversation, I realized it's not enough. There's something more. There's another dimension here that I haven't explored yet. So I trained as an interfaith minister at that point, to hold ceremonies, but not really that. It was more the chaplaincy part that was drawing me.
Yeah.
And that trajectory kind of panned out a little bit because I was involved with different organisations and none of them, I could see potential for what I wanted to do. And none of these organisations fitted that.
Yeah.
So then we came to lockdowns and COVID. And one day I said, you know what? What would it look like if I was to create what I would like to see in like the institutional church and all these institutions and even the new versions that come through and say that there's always too many rules and it wasn't getting it. And they weren't inclusive enough. Somebody was always going to be excluded. And that was the bit that was really bothering me. So I wrote it all out. And I looked at it then and I went, uh-oh, that makes sense. And I submitted it to the Office of the Registrar General as a potential non-denominational inclusive religious body.
But Christian or?
So,
Okay.
no, because I wanted... I felt if I'm going to be wholehearted about this, it cannot include an external God. There is a space for people. I want to include people who do have a faith in any God of their understanding, and also people who do not have a faith in a God of their understanding.
Yeah.
Or in any God. So, to encompass both of these, one of the biggest compliments I ever got in my life was somebody said to me, Karen, you are one of life's enthusiasts. And I thought, it was such a phenomenal compliment.
Yeah.
And she said, Karen, do you know the root of the word enthusiasm is entheos, which means inspired by the divine within. And I thought that was really profound.
Yeah.
And I figured if I was to start this new organisation and I have to have a core belief or a God of some sort, when I used the word God in the application, I put an extra O in brackets, so it was God or good.
Yeah.
So you can believe in the God of your understanding or the good of your understanding. The one thing is that everybody seeks to see the good in each other, and that's the core belief. And I call the organisation Entheos.
But what were you're setting up the organisation, and what was the role of the organisation going to be
So
in the hospital?
the role of the organisation, I'll start within the world, was going to be to have something to catch the people who fall into the space between belief and non-belief. And then within the hospital, I could see that this was going to be a social enterprise, and so that the legal weddings that the celebrants are holding can fund a service where we hold funerals for babies and young children with no fee. And also couples that find themselves in a situation where they need to be married very quickly in an end-of-life situation,
Yeah.
that we can go into the hospital, again with no fee, and marry people who find themselves, by consent of both of them, in that situation.
Okay.
So no organisation was really doing this. This was kept falling between two stools all the time.
So people would be familiar with secular funerals
Yeah.
and that kind of thing, and getting married in a registry office. So what's the difference between those things and what you do?
So our organisation encompasses the something more. So usually the way it works in this country is we have a division, it's religious or secular. If you're a secular body, you cannot encompass any spirituality within your ceremonies. And if you're a religious body, you tend to fall into the categories of the traditional faith paths or kind of interfaith.
Yeah, but how do you define, when you say you can't have any, if you're secular, you can't have any spirituality, but how do you define spirituality?
Well, this is the thing. I mean, you
Because
can't...
I've been at secular funerals
Yeah.
that have been full of spirit.
Absolutely, yeah. And I know people who hold phenomenal ceremonies
Yeah.
who are secular celebrants. So I'm not saying that doesn't happen. But if I was to register Entheos as a secular body, we would have had to commit to not having this. So when I put in my application, I was able to include God or not. So another key piece is for LGBTQ plus people of faith who have been ostracised by their faith path, they're not allowed to get married within the church. If you're a Catholic, a gay Catholic person,
Yeah.
you're not allowed to get married within the Catholic Church. Where do you go then? So if I set up Entheos as a secular body, I wouldn't be able to work with those couples.
Okay.
There's no sacrament. And we don't seek to replicate sacraments, but we do seek to replicate the feeling of community, the feeling of connection. Speaking of God, you can speak of whatever language you like. Sometimes there's breaking of bread. You can have bread and wine if you'd like.
Yeah.
It's not a sacrament, but communities break bread together. It's a great and beautiful tradition. And I think it's really, really important to create a space for people who do have a faith and want to have a space for participatory spirituality outside of the structure of a traditional faith path or an institutional church.
Is it too easy?
Elaborate. Which bit?
Well, I suppose that part of the attraction of religion is that it sets a standard. Mm-hmm. And you either, say with Christianity, it would be you're always forgiven, but that's the bar.
Yeah, yeah.
With other religions, it might be, okay, the discipline might be in the form. We do this, and then we do this, and then we do this. So there are different ways of... So is yours just you can do whatever you want, whenever you want, and we're all grand?
No.
Okay.
So we have core values and standards. The core value is inclusivity. And the difficulty is human nature.
Yeah.
Because it would be easy for me to say, this is the rules. Everybody follow the rules and we're all grand. But actually the rule is that we need to be aligned with what we're doing in the world. We need to make the effort to include people even when that's challenging. So when people come to us and want to train as celebrants, our application form before they ever come to the organisation asks for a commitment from the person to be the change that they want to see in the world, to get uncomfortable, to stand up and be a proper ally to everybody within their community, and that's very challenging.
So how do you train them? And I'm aware when I say this that in Christianity, the initial apostles didn't have much training at all, really. They were just, taken from the boat and said, go out there now. Yeah. So what training do the people in your organisation have?
So So far, it's been in person. We have a premises up on Thomas Street, which we're letting go of because the cost is just swallowing up too much of our resources.
I suppose what I'm asking is, do you know what you're doing?
So, yes. So, where that comes from is, I have done my master's in psychotherapy. I have trained as a nurse. I have sat with people at their deathbed when they're dying. I mean, I've such exciting plans for 2024. One of which is, you know, to liaise with all of the medical social workers in the hospice and hospitals throughout Ireland to say that we now have people in every county. We will go 24/7 to a hospital and marry a couple if needs be. And I've done that. I've gone to a hospital ward at 2 a.m. I've driven across the country to be there at 2 a.m. to marry a couple. And sometimes they die extremely soon after, the person themselves. And I mean, to actually be in a space with somebody who can barely hold a pen, but is still saying, they have to be able to consent to the marriage. They have to be able to say, I do. And when their last words almost are, I do, and they make the mark on the page, like, that's what this organisation is about. And it's so amazing for me then to have the team of 65 now that we have, so it doesn't have to always be me because I can't be in Cork.
Where can people find out about you? And
so, my Instagram handle is Bald Priestess, even though I don't really like the word priestess. But entheos.ie is our website, and Entheos is the best place to find everything. It's entheos.ie. It's not an intuitive word that you naturally know how to spell, which is a little bit of it makes it tricky sometimes. But that is, Entheos brings it right back to the root of the word enthusiasm. And I think everybody, if we could just remember what it is that makes us feel enthusiastic and connect with that a little bit more,
align with that a bit more.
That would be my recommended spiritual practice for anybody.
It's been a pleasure talking to you, Karen. Thank you very much for coming onto the show.
Thank you.
Now, I'm very, very happy to introduce our musical guest tonight. I'm a huge fan. His name is Mick Flannery, and he's performing the song Neon tonight. And Mick will be playing live at the Marquee on June 21st. Thank you for watching.
Please don't bother me, I've got work to do. I'm working on this box, I'm working on a tune, and I need to be alone before I can be with you. Neon tonight, neon tonight, neon tonight, neon tonight, it ain't scraping back what God took away. What's going's gonna come, and you won't have a say. It's trying to build a home that lets it feel the rain. Neon tonight, neon tonight, neon tonight, neon tonight. Turn it up, babe, I can't hear you. Turn it up, you gotta sing. Turn it up, babe, I can't hear you. Turn it up, you gotta sing. You bring on the night, bring on the night, bring on the night, bring on the night. Yeah, mama, yeah, I'm gearing up to share what I've been working on. It might not do for you, but it might do for someone. I'm feeling kind of shy, I'm feeling about